Hey Josh, you want to talk about some trash? So we're going to talk about Friday the 13th, specifically parts 4, which is the final chapter, and part 6, which is Jason Lives. Did you just see these on cable, the ones that you did see? I feel like that's a lot of people our age, like they were always on. They were always on, like, USA, I think, played them a lot.
And we had HBO when I was young.
HBO played them a lot.
Yeah, and so, that's why I can remember that actually part 6 was, in parts, the first horror movie I ever saw.
Oh, wow. Because
it was on HBO, and I was, it was still kind of forbidden fruit. I mean, no one was really telling me not to, but, I knew, like, you shouldn't, uh-oh. And saw the beginning, up to the credits, and I didn't watch horror movies for a while after that.
Really?
I was terrified.
That's funny in retrospect.
It is. Looking at it now, it's just like, that's what's... Oh.
There's not a whole lot scary about that James Bond homage.
No. Good Lord.
But you mentioned, like, the idea of, like, you didn't know if you were supposed to be watching those. I feel like that was the aura around the Friday the 13th movies growing up.
For sure.
Those are bad movies. They're sleazy. There's boobs in them, and there's gore.
Then they have their, it was already coming through critics where it's just like there's nothing redeeming in there.
Our next movie is Friday the 13th, the final chapter, an immoral and reprehensible piece of trash. Friday the 13th, the final chapter, is 90 minutes of teenagers being strangled, stabbed, impaled, chopped up, and mutilated. That's all this movie is just mindless, bloody violence. And just think of the message this film offers to its teenage audience. The world is a totally evil place, this movie says. It'll kill you. It doesn't matter what your dreams and hopes and ambitions are. It doesn't matter if you have a new boyfriend or a new girlfriend or you've got plans for the future. You can forget those plans because you're going to wind up dead.
Unlike, say, a Halloween or something like that, where it's
just a real craftsmanship to it.
Exactly. No, it's just an excuse for gore and boobs.
Which is... It's kind of and it's funny because, the original Friday the 13th was just a shameless cash-in. It was an attempt, Sean Cunningham, who directed it, just flat out said, we were just trying to recreate the success of Halloween. And you watch that movie, I don't really like the first Friday the 13th very much. It's kind of dull.
Yeah.
It has going for it are some of the Tom Savini kills.
Right.
The most famous is the Kevin Bacon arrow through the neck gag.
It's fantastic.
Which is a great gag.
Yeah.
But that is all that really has going. The rest is the killer POV shots. Betsy Palmer is pretty good at the end when she finally shows up and does some vamping.
Yeah, she brings it.
Kill her, Mommy. Kill her. Don't let her live. I won't, Jason.
But that original movie came out during the heyday of the slasher films, which was like 80, 81, 82, there was just a glut of slasher movies. And then after that, the only ones that kind of endured were the big franchises, which was like Friday the 13th and then Nightmare on Elm Street, which the first one didn't even come out till 84.
Oh, that's right.
But by that point, that was when the MPA started to crack down on violence in movies. So this franchise that is thought of as being like, when you're a kid anyway, these like forbidden, like really violent movies, all of them are edited to shit.
Oh, God, yeah.
And have hardly any actual gore in them.
And you can see it as time went on between the two that we were specifically talking about today. But you can really see the difference.
Oh yeah, yeah. It just kept as the 80s went along, it just kept getting worse and worse.
Yeah.
Which is funny now because you look at R-rated movies and you can do anything.
Oh God.
There's so much gore in R-rated movies now. But at the height of the era that is thought of as being this violent, slasher movie subgenre era, there's hardly anything.
Nothing. Heck, there's not even any nudity in 6.
That's true, yeah.
Although, 4 kind of makes up for that. But
4 and definitely 5 makes up for it.
Yeah, it's interesting how it sort of became. It didn't necessarily seem like it was going to be like a series right from the beginning. It's just kind of, we can do another one, and then another one.
What ideas do we have for the next one?
Yeah. It's 3.
What did we do in the last one?
Yeah.
Jason walks around and kills people.
But we can do that in 3D. I like what you're thinking. I like how you're thinking there.
Yeah, it's funny because obviously Jason Voorhees is the famous slasher from the franchise, but he's not even in the first one, aside from when he's a little kid. He's in the second one with a sack over his head. The third one, he finally gets the hockey mask. So the fourth one is really what kind of solidifies the idea of like Jason as this iconic slasher. Because that's the first one where they're like, well, he had a hockey mask in the third one. We'll do the hockey mask again. People seem to like that.
Stick with that. And yeah, even in the, in the way they approach it from the beginning of the movie is like greatest hits of the first three movies, which also lends the idea that it was going to be the last one, but even still it codifies like, this is Jason, this is his story.
Yeah.
But yeah, cut into all the kills from all the previous movies, talking about his mom, and everything's in there. And so we're all ready to put a cap on Jason, wrap it up.
The final chapter. Not only is it not the final movie, but it's not even the only movie in this series to have final in the title and not be the final one.
Oh God, is that right?
Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday.
Oh Jesus.
Never mind, he's going to space now.
Yeah, fine.
But the reason we're talking about 4 and 6 is because they are considered by a lot of people to be the two best ones in the franchise. Part 4 is I think, the best just pure Jason movie.
Yeah.
When you think of like what a Friday the 13th movie is, which they're not particularly complicated, they're definitely not highbrow. It's like the polar opposite of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, where those are really like visual and imaginative, and they have a slasher killer with a real like personality to them. And the Friday the 13th movies are lacking all that, and that's kind of what their charm is in its own way.
It is, actually.
There's like a blunt, dumb simplicity to it.
Yeah.
That the film is literally about stabbing. In other words, if you like this picture, what you have liked, I believe, is the idea that someone will get a stick put through their body, because that's the essence of this movie.
And I want to talk more about that when we get to 6, but even in 4, at the beginning of it, it picks up right where 3 left off. Right at the end of part 3, everybody, the ambulances and the cops are there picking up the bodies, and they take Jason to the morgue, where the guy from Police Academy is.
Honey, don't worry. I'll be okay. Everything will be okay.
I know him. He's a rabbi on Seinfeld too.
Oh, because everybody's on Seinfeld, of course.
Everybody's been on Seinfeld.
Of course.
Seinfeld and TNG.
Right.
Everybody's been on both those shows.
It's like Doctor Who for the U.S.
Yes.
Everybody's been on there. But yeah, so in this movie, he's a sex-crazed morgue director or assistant or guy in the morgue, whatever. And
we don't waste any time with what the series is famous for, which is just really horny characters.
Whoo, boy.
Jesus Christmas!
Lots of fake-out scares.
Yeah.
But then he lets out the most bizarre string of expletives.
Holy Jesus, goddamn! Holy Jesus, jumping Christmas shit!
Christmas is in there like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. I'm assuming that's improv. I don't think they shot it around Christmas, but maybe he just had Christmas on the brain.
Who knows?
Thinking of some Christmas shopping he had to do. I don't know.
And yeah, so from there, we're not wasting any time. The nurse turns him down for hot sex and goes to do inventory.
Hey, where are you going?
I'll tell you where I'm going. I'm going crazy!
And that's a perfect time for Jason to grab a hacksaw from somewhere. Who cares?
Doesn't matter.
No.
Just cynical
It's terrible.
cynicism.
It's terrible.
But honestly, that's where I was really kind of started admiring immediately this time, the editing of the kills, because it's just enough gore. I don't even think the kills, particularly in this one, are gratuitous. It's like, it's not crazy.
Yeah.
It's just enough where it's just like, ooh, that looks bad, and then they've already cut.
Yeah, that's the thing, is
quick.
they're very quick. The editing is quick, and that's partly due to them having to cut it down because of the MPAA. But it works in the movie's favor, where it's more impactful when it's like boom, ooh, ow, and then we're out.
Ted, hey, Ted, where the hell's corkscrew?
Well, we have to mention they brought back Tom Savini.
Yes, they did.
Which is important
because he wanted to kill off his creation.
He worked on part 1, he bowed out for part 2 and 3 because he's like, wait, Jason's the killer now? That doesn't make sense. But the director of this movie, Joseph Zito, previously did the most basic slasher movie imaginable called The Prowler.
The most basic.
He brought, that was, like we were saying, like the 80, 81, 82 era where there's just tons of them.
And there wasn't even a mystery in that one.
No.
It's just, oh, it's that guy, the end.
He's just walking around killing people. But Tom Savini did the effects for that movie.
And they're fucking great.
And that's really the only reason to watch that movie.
Oh, yeah.
There's a pretty fantastic head explosion at the end.
There's the stab up through the chin all the way.
That's the gross
head.
one because like the eyes roll back in the head and they're just like these whites and it's really creepy.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
But yeah, so the director of this movie had a relationship with Tom Savini and brought him back.
And it's really, it really feels like they're just trying to, they're excited to tie a knot in the whole thing. And they got their best kind of setup for one of these movies, as far as I'm concerned, which is it's not even camp. It's just some teenagers have rented a cabin next to another house. That's it.
I thought when you said camp at first, I thought you meant like the tone of the movie.
Oh no.
We're not there yet.
Not yet.
We're not in the camp territory, which is another one of the charms of these movies. The first few, even the ones that aren't very good, like 3. There's such a like earnest quality to them, where they're played completely straight, and there's something so kind of gritty about them too. As the series went along, they got a little more slick and polished. And there's those first like 4 or 5 movies. They're relatively low budget. They're Paramount movies, but they're low budget.
Yeah.
Which is also something to point out, that the reason that Paramount wanted to wrap this up is they were moneymakers, but they were so embarrassed by making them. These trash movies. Paramount, we're a big studio. We're better than this. Let's wrap it up. But then 4th one makes so much money.
Yeah. Like, you know what? Hold on.
Yeah.
Maybe we're not as embarrassed as we thought we were.
We'll have to suck up our pride and make a few more of these turkeys.
Yeah, we're not gonna make these kind of gory slasher movies anymore.
We got Indiana Jones movies to make. But yeah, that kind of earnest quality works in this movie's favor when you have, you said there's like the family and then the horny teenagers next door. The horny teenagers are the characters you expect from a movie like this.
Yeah.
But the wholesome family dynamic kind of adds something new to it.
Absolutely.
Oh, honey, get a haircut.
Oh, Ma.
Speaking of Ernest, Crispin Glover.
Yes, yeah. We got 2, before they were famous actors in this, Crispin Glover and Corey Feldman.
Yes, indeed.
And Crispin Glover is in his own world in this movie.
Oh, boy.
This is a neat room.
He's very upset that his friend is calling him a dead fuck. He's just, I really wish you wouldn't do that.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing. Like, you have the wholesome family, which is a different kind of dynamic for these movies. And then you have, like, Crispin Glover's character. They're all going up to the cabin for the weekend to party, and he's super mopey the whole time because he just broke up with his girlfriend.
Oh, God, I'm horny.
But you don't get that in these movies. You get kids that want to party and have sex.
And they're already paired off anyway.
Yeah, and so
they can do that pretty quickly.
Yeah, so having that Crispin Glover kind of sad sack character is like, he's a bit of a buzzkill, but he feels real in this world.
He does, and when it's time to start the party, he knows how to get it started. Oh man.
If this movie's known for anything, it's for the Crispin Glover dance.
Oh, I love it so much.
Apparently, that was just the way he danced. That's what they say. Like, when they actually shot it, they were playing AC/DC Back in Black. And that doesn't make it any better.
No. No, and they replaced it with a track from a band called Lion, who you may remember from the Transformers the movie soundtrack, because I think that's the only thing they ever did ever. But the only place I know Lion is from soundtracks, and that's the only other soundtrack I know them from is that song right there.
Yeah.
Hey, how come you turned that off?
This movie also, it keeps introducing, there's a lot of characters in this movie, maybe a few too many, but one of the I think intentionally funny bits they do is when all the horny teens are walking through the woods and Crispin Glover's in the back, he's being a sad sack, and his friend is like, you gotta find someone new. And then, right in perfect comedic timing, 2 hot twins roll up on their bicycles.
How far is it to town? We'll show you.
So Crispin Glover's trying to impress one of the twins, and he's like, do you want to dance? And he's like, it's good.
Good.
It's
good.
It's like, is he talking about the song or his dancing? Or?
I think it's the song because she seems initially unimpressed by the music. No, it's good. It's
good.
And then he does the dance.
Yeah. Like I said, yeah, Crispin Glover is in his own. Even if he didn't go on to do anything else after this movie,
he would
still be talking about him in this movie.
Yeah, there'd be people trying to track him down. Like, who was that guy if he had not been Crispin Glover? So it's very unique in this movie and onwards.
Almost every line he says is funny. Sometimes intentional, sometimes not.
He thinks that's funny. He thinks that's a funny thing he's doing. I mean, can you figure that? What the fuck happened?
Come on in!
Oh, no. No, we have no suits. Hey, Ted, where the hell's the corkscrew?
There's the famous, "Hey Ted, where's the corkscrew?" which I still quote all the time.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a funny line, but it's him saying it.
The delivery of it is yeah. Like,
Hey, Ted, where the hell's the corkscrew?
Which is the only reason I know that one of the other characters is named Ted.
Teddy Bear.
Teddy Bear.
Oh, that guy.
But how many of these other characters can you name? Because there's too many, which is why I made a handy chart.
Oh!
To help us out.
Oh, look at that.
So if you ever are trying to think of a character's name.
Oh, I wasn't thinking of the family. I could have named you the family.
Yeah, well, aside from, Tommy Jarvis, of course.
That's not Gordon.
That's not Gordon?
No.
Did I print out the wrong picture of a
You
different
got
dog?
the wrong dog. Gordon's a golden retriever.
Oh. Sorry, Gordon. But yeah, if you ever need help with a character's name, let me know. I'll have this handy.
That's perfect. Great.
Because there's probably a few too many of these horny teens. Like
just a couple.
There's the girl, and she's written fairly well for this type of movie. The one that is unsure about having sex, and she ends up getting killed in a towel with the axe goes through the door directly into her. But you kind of forget she's there for long stretches. Yeah,
because she's initially like she won't join in the fun, and she's kind of set up like she's almost going to be potentially the final girl.
Yeah.
Because I don't even know if like there's some good making out, but it doesn't quite. I can't quite tell if they were actually having sex in the shower because.
Or just fooling around.
Yeah.
Nude. Yeah.
Like maybe she never got to, that'd be a fucking bummer, man. She's looking forward to it. She's planning it all out. Got this whole coy thing with Doug. And Samantha, she's got a reputation.
Yeah.
Even though she doesn't actually fuck everybody, but people think she does.
Right. Again,
so,
it feels like something out of a John Hughes movie.
Absolutely. But she's really only interested in the one guy. The guy that's dancing with the other.
Did I put him on here? There may be so many characters I forgot to put him on. I didn't put him on.
Yeah.
The guy you're talking about, I missed.
Corey or Cody? Or, I think it starts with a C.
The guy who gets a harpoon in the dick.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's a good one. I like that one. All the way up and all the way to shore. But so yeah, it's kind of set up like a lot more realistic, I would say, than a lot of these characters could be. Like they've got a dimension at least. They're not just flat like teens and sex and stab. There's a little more to it than that.
Which is good that they're fleshed out that well because there's not really a plot to this movie.
No.
Jason's there and he's killing people.
No, the most that it tries for is that someone's brother from the second movie is out in the woods.
Which is kind of weird continuity-wise. That character's name is Rob.
Okay.
He's camping out in the woods trying to track down Jason so he can kill Jason because Jason killed his sister in part 2.
Right.
But that was only like 2 days ago.
Right.
He's camping out in the woods like he's been doing this for a while.
Oh God, that's right. Because it was 5 years between the first two.
Yeah.
And then it's like 2 days. So yeah,
just a couple days.
What the fuck, dude? I guess all those newspaper clippings are fresh.
I guess, yeah.
Jesus, I didn't even.
He cut him out that morning.
Yeah. Criminy.
So there's things like that. This franchise is not too great with the continuity. The only piece of continuity that lasts through, I think, all the way up through Jason Goes to Hell is in part 3. Jason gets the axe or the machete right into his forehead.
Yeah.
And there's like a gash in the mask. And that crack is in the mask through every subsequent movie.
Right.
That's the only piece of continuity that they get right.
The only thing
That one random thing.
Managed to hit. Good
and
Lord.
it's not on this mask because this is a part 3 mask.
Ah, there you go.
I ordered a part 4 mask and they sent me a part 3 mask.
No.
But yeah, that's the only continuity that in any of these movies.
Even Tommy Jarvis doesn't stay continual through. But in this one, Tommy Jarvis is he's a precocious child. He likes the computers and the monster movies, and he makes masks. And that's
he's a little Tom Savini.
Yeah.
I think that's why they named the character Tommy, is after Tom Savini.
I suppose.
Because all those masks and puppets and stuff, those are Tom Savini creatures.
Yeah, he just always cleared out the warehouse for the day, brought him down to the set.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. We talked about Crispin Glover, but Corey Feldman was such a great child actor. Between this and like Goonies and Stand By Me, he was legitimately good.
Yeah.
And he was really good at feeling like an authentic kid.
Oh, man.
And he definitely does in this.
Well, mostly. Apart from that one scene where he's supposed to be watching out the window.
Oh, that was the scene I was going to cite, where he's watching the girl undress. I feel like he acts so much like a little kid would act. Where he feels like he's getting away with something. He can't believe what he's seen.
But
this hot babe across the street is getting naked. He's us when we were watching these movies as kids.
I guess. I don't know. I was more
where you're
just
like
kinda
looking
staring.
behind you to see if your parents are going to see you watching a Friday the 13th movie.
Covering my head with the pillows.
He's
jumping
overly
around.
excited.
All right.
Because he's too young to really understand the feelings he's feeling.
I suppose.
So he just kind of hops around on the bed. I love him in that scene.
I thought that was a little obviously not happening at the same time, to the point where it's just like, you're seeing this, now you're seeing this, now you're seeing this, and they're cutting back and forth. Obviously that's fine that they're cutting back and forth, but it felt like so prompted just before the camera went on. But other than that, absolutely, he's definitely believable. Like, even his excitement when he meets this new friend is like, oh, I want to show you all the cool stuff I do, because everybody in my house has seen it already and they're bored.
And his relationship with the dog, Gordon. He has a great chemistry with Gordon.
Yes, he does.
Gordon! Hey, Gordon! Where have you been, huh, Gordon? You've been sneaking around. Do you have a girlfriend or something?
He has great chemistry with animals in movies, that Corey Feldman. He's one of the standouts in Gremlins.
Yes.
When he's talking to Gizmo and playing with Gizmo,
hide and seek. He's
so believable. Like you feel like he thinks he's like playing with an actual animal.
Yeah.
So he's really good at stuff like that.
Yeah, Gordon. It's nice to have a dog running around. He doesn't really do a whole lot. He barks and growls at things, and eventually jumps
gets
out a
the
window.
fuck out of there at one point. Yeah.
Yeah, he jumps out a window to escape.
But speaking of that, Gordon jumping out the window, that's our other supporting character in this movie is Broken Glass.
No shit.
Never before in motion picture history have so many people been thrown out or jumped through windows.
Not since Death Wish 3. But one of my favorite shots, actually, one of my favorite kills in there is when Jason is throwing the second twin out the window, and it goes to slow-mo.
Oh,
it's that really nice composition.
Mm-hmm. There's just the appropriate level of artistry in this movie.
Yeah,
it's not overly complex. And when we say it's the best Friday the 13th movie, you have to put it in the context of, for a Friday the 13th movie, it's the best.
Exactly.
But yeah, this one, like, there's the first twin. I think it's the first twin that gets killed, where you just see her silhouette on the wall, which is from the lightning strike and things like that.
Until eventually her face goes up against the house. But not initially.
The initial kill, the initial penetration is completely off camera. It's a good balance of that, of off-camera kills and hey, check out this cool Tom Savini gag.
Well, this is very good pacing-wise as well about the time leading up. Like, it's just enough to get you on on the edge of your seat. It's not too much. It's not, it's not annoying where you're just like,
just get to it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's just right, balanced very nicely, where you're just like, this shot's lingering a little too long. Bam.
And the best, well, I don't know if it's the best kill, but the best example of what we're talking about is probably Crispin Glover's death.
Probably.
Ted! Hey, Ted, where the hell's the corkscrew?
First of all, again, hey, Ted, where's the corkscrew? Bam, and immediately corkscrew in the hand, which is fun. And then you get kind of a throwback to the machete in the head from Dawn of the Dead that Tom Savini did with, which I'm assuming he shot it the same way he did the Dawn of the Dead gag, which is the blade has a section cut out for the face, start in the face, and pull it out, and then reverse the film. And that's an interesting angle too. They kind of do something like that in part 2. The lead in part 2, her character's name is Ginny. She's probably my favorite final girl of all these movies. Mm-hmm. Part 2 is one I didn't see a lot growing up because it wasn't on cable as much as the others.
Yeah.
But in recent years, I've watched it a little bit more, and it's up there with part 4 as just like a really solid Friday the 13th movie. Okay. But there's a scene where she's at a bar and she's kind of like trying to figure out the psychology of Jason, where she's like, imagine, you were a little kid and you saw your mom beheaded and what that would do to you. And
I mean, I doubt Jason would have even known the meaning of death, or at least until that horrible night. He must have seen the whole thing happen. He must have seen his mother get killed, and all just because she loved him.
And they go into that with this too, with Tommy Jarvis, where it's like he sees all those newspaper clippings and he kind of starts to try to get himself in the mindset of Jason and what he could use to psychologically trick Jason.
Right.
It's not just people trying to fight back with pitchforks or whatever.
No,
which they do in most of the other movies.
Yeah, and it does kind of seem, it does have that influence on the further the movies further along after that too, where like we get into 6, Tommy he has a very specific thing he needs to do in order to end the movie. Yeah,
the best movies in the franchise, and 2 kind of does this too, because Ginny at the end finds in Jason's shack the head of Mrs. Voorhees. And so she pieces together that he has mommy issues. So she puts on Mrs. Voorhees' sweater and is pretending to be his mom. So this is kind of a callback to that. And the best movies in the franchise do that, where they kind of have a little bit more, because Jason, another thing that makes him different than Freddy is like, he's kind of a victim. I mean, he was teased as a kid, he was deformed, and he got drowned because the counselors that were supposed to be watching him were off having sex. Mm-hmm. When people talk about slasher movies, like, oh, you have sex, you die. And I feel like that cliche started with these movies, but
it's for a very specific reason.
There's a specific reason for it. The knockoff movies and the other slasher movies, it's just, that's the trope at that point.
Yeah.
That Jason, that was always a thing with these movies too, is like, ooh, is Jason going to be unmasked in this one?
Yeah.
He is in pretty much every single one of them, and that's going along with the continuity again, is he looks completely different
every
in every one.
They can never stick with it.
Which is a little more forgivable when he's like zombie Jason, because he keeps kind of rotting away or whatever, but part 2, 3, and 4 are days from each other, and they look completely different in every one. He looks cool, though. I like the look of him in this one. It's not my favorite unmasked Jason look, but he looks good.
He does. He looks good. Yeah. And it's perfect for the ultimate final end of Jason. Definitely final. Definitely not going to come back.
This is the end of Jason.
It. And the whole reason that Tom Savini came back, and just that fantastic slide down the machete. Yeah. It's really good. And
that was apparently a compromise. They were willing to like kind of cut bits and pieces here out of all the other kills in the movie, in hopes that if they cut more out of that stuff, they could keep more of the gratuitous Jason death at the end of this one.
Okay, and it's definitely the one that lasts the longest.
We should mention Jason briefly. We've been talking about everything but Jason in this Jason Voorhees movie. Another thing separating him from Freddy is obviously you got to cast Robert Englund in all those sequels.
Right.
You can't replace Freddy.
You can replace Jason real easy, though.
They do. That's the thing. Every movie, Jason is not like some complex character. He's a stuntman in a hockey mask.
Yeah.
And you don't really get, up until Kane Hodder, who played Jason 4 times.
Yeah, right.
Up until him, where you kind of do have some sort of continuity with the kind of performance of the character, but with all the ones that he did.
Yeah.
But before that, there really isn't. As much as I like Jason, he works more as like a symbol than as a character, because in this one he's running, and in other movies he's
that methodic pace.
He feels like a stuntman in a mask. You never really get a sense of a character from a lot of these earlier ones.
Right.
And in this movie in particular, the stuntman that they cast is a guy named Ted White, who was like an old school, like a classic Hollywood stuntman.
Yeah, he was in like his 50s, something like that.
He was almost 60 when they made this movie.
Jeez.
He's like one of those classics, like the kind of character that Brad Pitt is based on in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Right.
Like that old school Hollywood stuntman. And to put in perspective his age when he made this movie, one of his early credits as a stuntman, Creature from the Black Lagoon.
God, that does it, man.
Classic Universal. I mean, to be fair, that one came a little later than like Frankenstein and Dracula.
But 40s still.
Yeah, it's still a pretty old movie. So there's a part when he's running, he's chasing Trish from one house to the other, and you actually see him running, and you're like, that's an old man running.
Yeah. And I do think this is of the series. I think this is one of Henry Manfredini's high points.
Yeah.
Like the score is really good in this one. I think particularly in 6, it was a little too leaning on classical themes.
Yeah.
A little nudge. This one seemed very original.
And his music in general is worth pointing out, I suppose, because
it's a big part of it.
It's a rare thing for a franchise that's gone on this long, where you have the same composer for every movie. Mm-hmm. And that's something that gives the whole series kind of a uniformity, because it's such a big part of these movies.
Well, and that's the first thing that anybody thinks of when you say Friday the 13th is.
Yeah,
that's him.
That's him. That's what he came up with the first movie.
Yeah.
It's famously, Mrs. Voorhees says, kill her mommy, so he's saying, kick, ma.
Yeah.
That's where that comes from.
Through the delay unit.
Yeah. Watching these movies, they were always on cable growing up. You just turn on a channel and they'd be on. And you might not even, I would watch them, and I don't even think I was necessarily aware of which one I was watching, because they all have kind of a sameness, and the score is a part of that. It's like the glue that binds them all together.
Yeah.
Where there is sort of like there's a comfy quality to the kind of repetition of the whole franchise, in a way where we complain sequels are just more of the same. And these movies kind of are, but there's a comfort to them, because they're so, I don't want to say low effort, but they're so low stakes.
It's kind of comfort food, where it's of course it's going to taste the same. You want it to taste the same.
Yeah. You want the same but different.
Yeah, but you can move it just that much, just a little bit.
Yeah, this one puts a real emphasis on characters more than the other ones do. The 6th one puts an emphasis more on comedy and building up Jason as more of a mythical figure.
Yeah. We'll move on to part 6, Jason Lives.
Yeah, it's similar to Halloween 4, where they're like, nobody likes Halloween 3. We got to make sure people know we're bringing back Michael Myers.
Right.
So it's called The Return of Michael Myers. So this one is Jason Lives.
Oh, boy.
We promise.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you wanted me to take 6 a little more seriously from the beginning, but it doesn't help that it's Tommy Jarvis and Horshack.
To be fair, Horshack doesn't mean much to most people now.
Well, see, and that's the thing. I want to be nice to Ron Palillo here, because he's doing an okay job, but seriously, it's the same mannerisms, the same dressed the same way as the character from Welcome Back, Kotter. Yes, that's right.
A show from the 1970s.
That you haven't seen.
This barely meant anything to me when I was a kid. I was like, I kind of recognize him.
For some reason, I was apparently well-versed in Welcome Back, Kotter. I don't know, it might have been after WKRP or something.
Okay. A big John Travolta fan? Young John Travolta?
Yeah, like Gabe Kaplan. Hey. But yeah, so immediately how seriously are we supposed to be taking this thing? And
we learn pretty quickly, not too seriously.
Not too seriously.
But what I like is, again, we were talking about the pacing of part 4, how it really kind of ramps up as it goes along, and so that by the end, it's really moving.
Yeah.
And this movie just starts right out of the gate.
Just dumps you right in.
That opening has the feel of an action scene. So immediately I'm like, all right, I'm on board for this. This has an energy to it that the other movies haven't had.
Yeah.
And we open with all these beautiful atmospheric shots of Camp Crystal Lake. Fog's rolling up. We see there's a full moon. The director of the movie, Tom McLaughlin, is a big fan of the classic Universal movies.
Ah, that figures.
And so he wanted to really give the movie more of an atmosphere than the other films have had, that kind of gothic atmosphere. So we get, tons of fog. This movie clearly has a higher budget than the other movies.
Oh, yes.
I think they spent half of it on fog machines. Which is always fog in the woods at night. It's not realistic, but it has this kind of visual quality.
That creepy feel, yeah.
Yeah, it gives you an atmosphere. This whole movie, to me, it really has an atmosphere and attention to the kind of like language of film
Yeah.
that the other movies don't.
That's very true.
Because the other movies are very, you know, Part 4 is a well-made slasher movie.
But it is stick to that language of a slasher movie.
Yeah,
very specific.
They all feel like they're made by kind of very sort of workman-like directors for hire.
They'll sneak in a couple interesting things here and there.
Yeah, but they're you know, they don't really. There's like a ceiling to the Friday the 13th movies, and they'll hit that, but that's about it.
Yeah.
And this movie, with the way it's shot and the atmosphere it builds and the care taken to give characters with actual like motivation and agency.
Jason is alive. We dug up his body. I was gonna cremate it.
Hold it, whoa. What's your name, son?
Well, Tommy Jarvis, but look, we've got to do something.
Yes.
Kind of breaks that ceiling for me in a way that the other movies don't.
I can agree with that.
Because we start out, Tommy Jarvis, who really feels like an unrelated character. He has almost no connection to Tommy Jarvis.
He could have been anybody from any of the previous movies.
Yeah.
Or a relative of somebody or anybody. It's just someone that believes in the Jason myth.
Yeah, but he has that urgency of, Jason is here, I know he's going to come back. Because that's a problem with a lot of these Friday the 13th movies, is that there is no plot and nobody really knows what's going on.
Yeah.
But all these other movies it's a lot of characters wandering around. They don't know what happened to their friend.
Nettie, Bill,
Vicky?
Mark? Sandra?
Fox?
Rick, Paul, Tommy, Gordon, Mom,
Sarah? Ted?
Billy,
Nita?
yo, Tommy, Court,
Jane?
Dina?
Dan, David, David, David,
David?
David, Ben, Maddie,
Maddie?
Jim, Tara, Tango, Robert, Rick, is everything all right?
This is the first time, like Tommy knows Jason's buried here. I have to make sure that he's in hell.
Yeah.
And he's going to do that by apparently torching him.
Yes, setting him on fire.
Yeah.
So that we get the spooky cemetery.
God, that cemetery. And
More fog.
You can see it better in the daylight scene, actually, but the way it's set up, like very maze-like, is really interesting. Like, I've never seen a cemetery actually look like that.
Right.
It's open spaces, you know, not all these fences and things you have to go around, and
Yeah.
all the Gothic metalwork through all, everywhere that you could, maybe break off and use for something. I don't know.
And then when he digs up Jason, and Jason comes back to life with a lightning bolt,
God damn it.
a la Frankenstein.
Yeah.
And this is when we're like, okay, we're in full-on supernatural territory.
Yes. It was both fun and funny, because you got that fun of, the original, Universal monsters, but at the same time, it's like, God damn it, Tommy. You just, why did you do that?
He tried.
Could have just lit him on fire, everything would have been fine. But no, you had to think back to the fourth movie and how you had to go over the top. You had to do it again.
Oh, shit.
But I do remember that from the first time seeing it, when they opened the coffin and it's all the maggots and everything. It's just like, that's a gruesome looking thing.
Yeah, it's cool. And when he gets revived, like, he's kind of backlit. They don't show him in too much detail, but he feels like an old EC Comics ghoul.
Yeah.
He's got like maggots and cobwebs on him. And it's like, this is so different than any of the earlier movies in a good way.
Yeah.
Where it's like, this is the kind of shot of adrenaline that this franchise needs.
And it's very, then again, it seems to go right to the comedic for me again, because he starts to corner Tommy, and Tommy splashes him with gas, and he's got a fucking matchbook in the rain. That's great. But my favorite thing is, Jason just stands there. He's just waiting. It made me laugh, that kind of setup where he's just like, Jason's just calmly waiting, just like, this is going to play out. We'll see what happens here.
Well, that's, going back to what we were saying about how Jason there's no kind of character consistency from movie to movie, and it always does feel like just a stunt guy in a mask.
Yeah.
This is the first one, 6 movies in, they finally have a Jason that feels like a mythic kind of classic monster.
Yeah.
Like a classic movie monster. Oh, in this one, he's way more intimidating.
Yes.
The fact that he's not running, the fact that he's not...
He does not run.
Yeah, he's always just standing there. Like, there's something about that. There's that shot later on when the RV flips over, and he's standing up on the top of it. There's fire down below.
Yeah.
And it's like, for a Friday the 13th movie, this is pretty epic.
Absolutely.
And it has that kind of classic quality to it that the earlier movies don't have. Where it's like, this is why Jason is a famous movie monster.
Yeah, the big shots.
Yeah.
And just the setup of him, just being the inevitable.
And I can think of only one thing, even more terrifying.
What? Yay, the kids are here.
But so there's going to be a new summer's worth of children up at the camp, and the new counselor's coming, and there's a couple of them coming early in a car.
That's when we get I think our first meta moment in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Darren, we better turn around.
Why?
Because I've seen enough horror movies to know any weirdo wearing a mask is never friendly.
It's that kind of, and this is something else that I know that I was kind of thinking about in terms of the gags in this movie, like the jokes, as opposed to like a Nightmare on Elm Street. Like it feels like they have to connect to the kill, and Freddy has to say something clever. And it has to all be connected, where this is just like, there's just a random kid, random in the girl's cabin. She's got a Sartre book.
She's reading No Exit.
She's reading No Exit. It's just like, and that didn't connect to anything.
Yeah.
Or it's as simple as this guy likes listening to music, knife in the ear. It's just blunt and simple.
Yeah, the kills and Jason as a whole are still treated pretty seriously.
Yeah.
It's there's lots of other humor surrounding the stuff with him, but I think I have a feeling Tom McLaughlin would have done this anyway, just because he seems to have such a love for horror and like classic horror monsters.
Mm-hmm.
But that was apparently one of the notes from the producers when he's like, "Can I make the movie a little funnier?" And they were like, "Sure, but don't make fun of Jason."
Which they never do.
Which they never do.
No.
And even, they never do in any of the movies. Even when you get to Jason X, which is like, Jason X is far too gone for me in terms of schlock.
Okay.
And like, no one's taking this seriously at all. But Jason still feels like Jason.
He's still a threat.
Yeah. And as much as I like a lot of the humor in this movie, there are a few moments that go too far. That's one. The James Bond thing, visually it's interesting. Like it's kind of funny, but
it's out of place.
But it's out of place. And there's another part where a character looks right at the camera and breaks the fourth wall.
Why'd I have to go and dig up Jason? Some folks have a strange idea of entertainment.
Which is a funny line, but having him do it directly to the camera, it's like he didn't have to do that and we would still get it.
Exactly.
I don't know, how many other kind of self-referential horror movies were there before this? This is pre-Scream.
Yeah.
This is, and that moment with the guy in the cemetery, where it's like he's almost chastising you as an audience for enjoying this type of trash.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a precursor to, I don't know if you ever saw Michael Haneke's Funny Games.
Oh yeah.
But that's an entire movie of you should feel bad for liking this.
Yeah, indicting the audience.
Yeah.
Right.
And then there's a couple breaking the fourth wall moments in that movie. But the first one is when the character looks right at the camera and smiles at you. And you're like, what the fuck is this? What movie am I watching?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean you had a bad dream?
No, it was real, just like on TV.
But yeah, this is like a precursor to that. In this sixth installment of a slasher franchise.
Who could have expected?
But the nice thing is, those are two the head counselors.
Yeah.
They get killed in that scene. That's sort of our introductory, aside from Horshack, our kind of first big kill scene.
Yeah.
And then we are introduced to the rest of the counselors.
The junior counselors.
And thank God there's 4 of them.
Yes.
And especially because I watched these movies. I watched 4, 5, and 6 back to back to back.
Oh, God.
Which I think I've done before over the years.
Yeah.
But I did it specifically in preparation for this. And when I saw there was only 4 of them, I was like, this is perfect. Because the other 2 suffer from too many characters.
Way too many.
I was like, there's just
5.
enough for me to keep track of. They all are visually distinct.
Yep, we got the one guy who likes to sit on top of things.
Oh, okay, sorry.
That's his only character thing, but that's okay.
He's got ripped jeans.
He got ripped jeans and a headset.
Yeah.
And we've got the sheriff's daughter.
The sheriff's daughter, her name is Megan. And the sheriff's last name is Garris. He's Sheriff Garris, which is a reference to Mick Garris, the horror director. I think in that same scene where all the counselors are there at the sheriff's station, they say something like about the town of Carpenter or something, or Carpenter. No, they say the town of Carpenter, but then they also mention Cunningham Road.
Throw in some famous names just for the fans.
Sure. But the Megan character, I like her a lot. She's incredibly likable.
Yeah.
And she's also very, she has an attitude to her dad, and it's just this sort of bored in a small town rebellion where you're like, she's attracted to Tommy Jarvis, probably more so because her dad keeps telling her to stay away from him.
Oh, yeah.
Tommy Jarvis is a very sick boy.
Oh, how do you know, Dad? What'd you do, take his temperature?
But yeah, and that's actually, I really do like that relationship between her and her dad, because there's definitely love still in there, even though she's, you know, yeah, she's bored in her small town, but there's the bit where they're having the argument and she just continues his part for him.
Yeah.
You keep forgetting, little Megan. I'm the parent,
And
you're the child. That's right.
But when are you going to stop treating me like one?
When you stop acting like one.
Like, that's,
like we've done this before.
Yeah, done this so many times, and this is how, you know, that's definitely a very loving moment, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of those things,
argument.
and there's some of it in part 4 too, where the characters, there is a lived-in, they feel like people that have a life outside of this slasher movie.
You've got a little bit of the added fun of actually having the kids there, and, you know.
Which is, also new for this.
Yeah.
There's actual kids at this camp.
And these poor counselors that don't know what they're doing have to try to figure something out, and that's when you start getting, kids are sassy, and I like that.
If this is as exciting as it gets, we're in big trouble, dude.
Yeah, the snarky kids are pretty good. That's one of my favorite lines in the whole movie, is when they're all hiding under their beds because Jason's lurking around.
Yep.
So, what were you gonna be when you grew up?
I think the kills themselves are, you know, they're not crazy unique, but there's some really fun stuff.
You can definitely tell they were edited down a little bit more than than part 4.
They are 95% bloodless, and and very quick.
Yeah.
But still fun. Like the bit in the RV where Jason's got the girl in the bathroom and he puts her face through the metal. Like that was an image that stuck with me for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that whole setup too, where she's getting thrashed around in the bathroom, but he can't hear it because he's got the radio cranked up and he's just having a great time. And it just keeps cutting back to him over and over, like, this is great, this is great, this is really great.
This is great. This is great. Ooh, that sounds great. Woo! This is great. This is great.
He thinks it's really great.
He's just, apparently he's never had an experience even close to that before in his life. He's just having the best fucking time until Jason stabs him in the ear.
I wish I was excited about anything as much as he is about driving an RV.
Seriously. Oh, bunch of fart heads.
Oh, that's something to mention about part 6 too, is some of the fun scene transitions.
Yes, there's a lot of those.
Yeah.
Does he think I'm a fart head?
There's a part when Jason throws a knife into, I think, a cop's forehead, and it goes right into his forehead, and then it immediately cuts to a door with a dartboard on it.
Yes.
Which is one of the more subtle ones. I don't even think I got that when I was younger.
Yeah. But yeah, that's, yeah, the editing in this video is creative and good.
It's the only one, and I love the entire franchise, no matter how bad they get. I love the Friday the 13th movies. But this is the only one that I would say is a legitimately good movie, beyond being just a good Friday the 13th movie.
Yeah, just good filmmaking.
Yeah, there's some thought put into the filmmaking that there really isn't with the other ones.
And it's fun.
Yeah.
It's honestly fun.
Just cynical
It's terrible.
defeatism.
It's terrible.
It's the best one to watch. Part 4 is the best if you're going to say, like, to someone that maybe hasn't seen a Friday the 13th movie, you're like, well, you watch part 4. Part 4 is the quintessential Friday the 13th movie. It gets everything right.
It could be the quintessential slasher film, really.
Sure, yeah. As far as, like, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't include Halloween. Halloween's like a proto-slasher.
Yeah, exactly.
That one's more about building suspense than it is, you know, the kills. So yeah, part 4 is like, yeah, that's the best Friday the 13th movie.
Yeah.
But part 6 is the one I would say, if you're looking for just like a fun slasher movie, especially one to watch like now, October time, like part 6 is it.
Yeah. You get all the setup you need. You get a fun romp with just enough kills.
And a kind of mediocre Alice Cooper song.
Oh, kind of. It's pretty bad.
I gotta give it some leeway because it's Alice Cooper doing a song about Jason Voorhees, which is
know,
fun.
but oh god,
it's not great.
It's the lyrics are really bad. They don't even try to rhyme.
Yeah,
it's just kind of stream of consciousness. Like, he's around, he's got a mask, and he's gonna kill you. Like, it's about that good.
I'm trying to think of the lyrics. There's one part where he's like, and he knows your house.
Yeah.
I guess he knows where you live, but
he knows your house.
And he knows your house. It's a weird way to phrase it.
He recognizes your house?
Yeah.
Has he been there before? I don't know what you're trying to go for there.
Yeah.
But we were so close to the career renaissance of Alice Cooper that we can kind of just let that go.
Yeah.
Give it 2 more years. We're up to Poison. Hey, Stupid. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Okay. So those are the 2 Friday the 13th movies. I think are if you've never seen any of the Friday the 13th movies for whatever reason, those are the 2 you start with.
Absolutely.
And for a lot of people, probably the 2 you want to end with, but
you'd be fine.
If you want to dig in deeper, I think there's little gold nuggets in all of them. They all have their charms.
And it's just, it's very interesting too, just the story of them. If you ever sit and watch Crystal Lake Memories.
Yeah, that
it's
documentary
amazing.
is fantastic.
Yeah, just what went into making these movies. It's really something.
It's that, yeah, like especially the good ones, like 4 and 6, where it's like these movies were made kind of cynically. I mean, the first one is meant to just cash in on the Halloween popularity. So they have that kind of like assembly line quality to the earlier ones. So when you have someone come in that's like, I'm going to try and do something interesting with it, like a Joseph Zito, trying to inject a little more character into part 4, or, Tom McLaughlin doing part 6 and trying to make it more fun. And we'll get some rock and roll music on the soundtrack for a change. And
it shows that, you don't have to put a lot of effort in, but just put a little effort in.
Yeah.
Just do something a little different. Maybe take those mashed potatoes you love so much, put a little bacon in there. just change it up just a little bit. Put some dill in. You don't even have to go crazy. Just shift it a little bit, and then you got something new and fresh and fun.